Remember, there was a list of 3 about submission to the king, about loyalty, about serving wisely. Okay, there's 3. Now there are 3 here he talks about as well. You cannot control. Because remember, we don't know the future. We don't know to look ahead. But God himself, he knows that. So there's 3 things he talks about. One is the wind. Now, there are 2 possible interpretations. One, possible physical wind. Same as recently. You know, the tornado that hit in the Midwest, okay? That is one possible interpretation. No person knew, they couldn't predict, yeah, the tornado went through that area, right, okay? So, is this a sign like this? Yeah. Okay, yes. All right, thank you. So we have a tornado. I have experienced only these hurricanes from New York, not yet had this kind of activity. Okay. Now, with a second possible interpretation, you have what is called the spirit of a man. Because if you remember in John chapter 3 and verse 8, Jesus Christ, he sits with the man whose name was Nicodemus. He told him, you cannot predict where the wind goes. The same as the spirit. It shows up, disappears, you can't predict that, okay? So possible one is a physical tornado. Second possibility is really the spirit of man. You can't control both. It doesn't matter which you talk about. You can't control also, secondly, the day that you die. Now some people think, I'm going to go ahead and commit suicide. I control the death day. I'll tell you, inform you, that is wrong. People go ahead. In New York, my college, they had 2 bridges. One was on the east side of the college and one was on the west side of the college. And the bridge was 200 feet down to the rocks. And it was very cold water, it was frozen. Okay. Now, sometimes people would jump, especially the Asian students from Japan. They were embarrassed because they arrived and they had a C in their math class and they had a D in their science class. And so they were embarrassed. They didn't want to go back to Japan and tell their parents they didn't have A's all for the classes. And so they would jump off the bridge near Christmas time. And then we would hear about how the fire department would go down there with a line and they would pull out the body. And sometimes they would live, or they would be in a wheelchair for life. 200 feet on the rocks, and they can't run, they can't swim, they can't do normal things because they tried to end the day with that decision. God decides. And sometimes God says, no, son, I'm not going to let you die today. Sorry, too bad. Thirdly, you cannot control being excused from duty. You know, when a soldier joins and he sees now we're near to the war, sometimes people become afraid. I don't want to go to that war. I thought when I joined the soldier, I'm only going to work in the hospital. I'm only going to work in the kitchen. I'm only going to work in the... No. They give a gun to the person. They give a sword to the person. Tell them you go out there in the front of the people and you die with all the soldiers. You can't be excused from duty. Your duty. Sorry. The last example as we close today is the bad example of a king whose name is Ahab. Today I've given you 3 good examples related with Daniel, related with Esther, related with the other story before that about Nehemiah. Okay, these 3 examples were good examples showing the wise servant. Now, I want to give you an example of an angry king because chapter 8, verse 8 tells no man has power over the spirit to control that. Not either has he power on the death day. Not either has he discharge from the war. Not either will wickedness deliver who heavens the Father. The wicked king Ahab, he lusted for one thing. There was a farmer over there who had this beautiful farm place with big grapes. he lusted, he wanted to buy it. He tried to buy it, and the farmer rejected him, told him no, because it's not proper in Israel to sell your own inheritance. The king went home to his bedroom and cried, and cried. His wife, whose name was Jezebel, showed up and asked him, "You are the king. Why are you crying? You have the right, the power to do whatever you want. You are the king. You are the man." And the man, the king, told his wife, "I'm not happy because I don't have a grape farm over there. He won't sell it to me." And the queen went ahead and told him, "I will fix it for you. Don't worry. Just go ahead and sleep. Enjoy the rest." And the queen used an evil plan to kill the farmer and to take out the grape farm. The prophet, he showed up in the house of the king and he rebuked the king and told him, "Because you have blood on your hands, because your wife killed him, the blood will never escape us." Wicked behavior is not fixed. We understand the king himself was a bad person. He lusted and had allowed sin to spread through the kingdom. But in the end, he died because of love. Not love. That's right. There were two kings that went together for that. And King Ahab decided to replace the clothes with the other enemy king. Okay? And a man with a bow and arrow, he shot far away. He didn't know where he was shooting. It just happened. And the king died. Because God, he led it. Or you can't control what you do. You can't control with your own power to win. And you can't control excuse. All the people continued the battle because they didn't know the king was there to replace. They thought that he continued to live. He was fine because they saw the clothes of the king. They saw the crown of the king. They saw him going around. It was the wrong person because the real king had died there. And it tells that the dogs ate and laughed around on his chair. Disgusting, sorry. That's right. Jeremiah exposed the false prophet and told him that because the king believed the wrong group of prophets, he will die the same destruction. So we need to pay attention to the wise counsel, not pay attention to the wise counsel. Now, we're going to close. We arrived at halfway through chapter 8. Later on, we'll extend some more, but right now, it's time to go into fellowship, eat, and enjoy the time together. The writer tells, eat and drink and enjoy your life, because what? You can't control things. So we're going to go ahead and pray. Lord, thank you for the opportunity here to gather together, to listen to the word, and also help us as we explain to the children and also explain to the people who are here about your word and the importance of that. There are very, very important principles here that have been taught this morning and hard to understand sometimes. Help us to understand it's not about only eating, drinking, and enjoying, because that is without God. But we're talking about now having the proper view and attitude before God and also before me to serve you. To serve you. In Jesus' name we pray.